The elder says he's only made things more fun and prepares for combat. With a smile on his face, the warrior charges forward and attacks his clone with everything he's got. At that moment, the veteran shouts for his companions to stay back, as he will handle this. Then, the two advance and begin to exchange blows at an absurd speed. The battle is so intense that only trails of purple energy can be seen in the air. The two then cross their blades, showing the strength and skill of both. Once again, the warriors clash with incredible force in the middle of the forest. A large explosion of energy occurs when their weapons meet. With that, the creature jumps back, preparing to attack its opponent again. The older prisoner maintains a serious and focused gaze, analyzing his adversary. The exchange of blows continues, and the two move so fast they seem to be dancing. The attack range of their weapons is only about 5 feet between them. Even with such a short range, dozens of blows are exchanged in seconds. With that, the trails of their foot, long blades cross several times in the air. The two opponents stand face to face in a deadly, intense stalemate. The bear then wonders if his master used the shackles to protect his own body, and the boy admits it's the first time he's seen his master fight that way. At this, the evil clone continues to fight with a cold, emotionless expression. The aerial battle continues, and the two move so fast they look like blurs in the sky. The bear comments that even being class 6, he can barely keep up with their movements. In an instant, the creature finds an opening and attacks the warrior's face directly. With that, the clone lands a powerful punch right in the middle of his original opponent's face. Then the creature leaps up, preparing for a final blow while the elder is on the ground. The older warrior maintains his serious expression, analyzing the battle situation, but the prisoner just smiles because, as expected, his clone is truly very strong. Seeing this, the young man shouts that is his master, and the old man finds it all fascinating. The veteran thinks that if he weren't fighting alone, he would have missed some details. He says that's why his curiosity is growing more and more. The creature reveals itself to be different from the giant monsters they faced before. The prisoner understands that giant monsters cannot imitate an opponent's form. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, the scientist stretches in her work chair. She then reveals that she created the monster's personality based on high intelligence. The woman explains that the creature endured over 20 years of harsh experiments. In that process, she instilled the idea that the veteran warrior was to blame for everything. Therefore, the word that best fits the clone would be revenge against its opponent. Then the creature charges at the old man again, continuing the relentless attack. Once more, the two clash their blades in a breathtaking fight. Their movements are so fast they look like mere blurs in the forest air. The clone and its original continue the intense battle without giving any openings. With a determined look, the prisoner prepares for the next phase of the confrontation. The veteran says that his clone is truly strong and praises it for the good work. With a swift move, the creature manages to grab its original and throw him to the ground. His companions watch in desperation, and the bear shouts for his master. He says he was getting bored, but that the fight was good fun. Then the older warrior says playtime is over and shatters his weapon. The elder says he will use his technique to shape and use time to his advantage. With this, he creates several clones of himself and surrounds the evil creature in the forest. The copy is surprised, not expecting this ability from its opponent. The prisoner says that no matter how much it imitates him, he is the original. He then states that he is on a completely different level and advances. At this, the creature panics, not knowing how to react to the veteran's new attack. The warrior then asks why the clone is running away like that. The bear and the young man also join the chase to capture the creature. Seeing the fallen monster, the boy wonders if that was really it. The scientist says she didn't just imitate his appearance and combat techniques, and that she also copied the ability to see the inner self of other people. She reveals that she also tried to imitate this ability in her evil creation. The woman then tells everyone to enjoy what is about to happen. The older warrior senses that something is wrong and becomes alert. Suddenly, the veteran prisoner finds himself alone in a completely dark place. Then, the place turns all white, as if everything were being purified. At that moment, the elder's appearance begins to return to how it used to be. He sees himself again with the appearance he had when he was still young. In that instant, the most important person in his life appears before him. It was the woman he loved. Her name was Isabel, and she approaches him. She looked like an ordinary housewife, but her smile was charming, The woman's hair floated gently with the breeze of that place. The kind of woman you always want to make laugh and feel happy. She was someone who lived each day with gratitude and offered prayers to God. Isabel was that kind of woman, and he loved her more than anything. The young man then looks at his beloved and asks a very important question. He asks if their son has grown up and is big and strong. His son, born from the love he shared with his beloved wife. She smiles and replies that of course he is, and that their son is doing well. Hearing this, the warrior's face fills with an expression of pain and sadness. With a quick motion, he holds his beloved's face with one hand. Then he attacks her with full force, giving her no chance to react. The woman is confused and asks why he is doing that, but he just responds with a no as he continues his harsh attack. Back in reality, he says his son is no longer in this world and attacks the clone. He says his beloved Isabel is also gone and continues to squeeze the clone's neck. With that, he says that the only one left in this world is him and attacks again. Then he throws the clone to the ground with incredible force and prepares for the final blow. The veteran prisoner raises his weapon and delivers several blows against the creature. The scene darkens, and we only see the silhouettes of the onslaught that is happening. With fury in his eyes, he attacks the clone relentlessly with his weapon in hand. The warrior then stands up, panting, over the defeated body of his enemy. He looks at the creature with contempt and calls it a piece of trash. Suddenly, the clone's body starts to make a strange noise, like a buzzing sound. A communication device is revealed inside the evil creature's head. The scientist then asks if he can hear her and how it was to fight the clone. The warrior admits that the last attack was effective enough to make him want to take her down. She tells him to take the pill inside the monster, as she made it herself. The veteran takes the pill, and the woman says it's compensation for annoying him. His companions approach and ask if he's okay, and he confirms that he is. The elder then declares that the hunt is over, and they will return to Valura. They arrive at the temporary village, and one of the residents says the saint is inside. A man thanks the old man for arriving just in time, as a group of raiders appeared. The group of humanoid beasts reveals themselves to be the beast circle in person. One of the beasts recognizes the warrior as Argel, and he asks who the fellow is. He reveals himself as Klask, the Class 6 prisoner and king of the beast circle. The beastmen ask for their wounds to be treated and question the saint's village. The bear says the raiders are one of the main factions and are not trustworthy. The warrior realizes they must have split from the raiders to fight. He then walks towards a darker, foggier part of the forest. Two beastmen, a rhinoceros and an eagle, recognize him and are surprised. The blond boy asks where his older brother is, and the veteran doesn't answer. The eagle man explains that dark mages captured him to perform experiments. The rhino man says they survived by joining the beast circle. The warrior thanks them for the information and pats the blond boy's head. Then he asks Valura to treat Klask and his subordinates as a sign of gratitude. The villagers begin to argue with the beastmen, reluctant to help them. Klask flexes his muscles to intimidate the villagers and get what he wants. The veteran prisoner stands still, observing the interaction between the two groups. The king of the beasts says he won't forget this debt and will repay it one day. The blond boy sits on a rock and says he'll see his brother soon. He talks with a friend and wonders if his brother Lucas really passed away. The young man abandons hope, understanding that it means giving in to loneliness. He decides that what matters now is survival and getting the situation organized. With the high oxygen density, he can push his physique to the limit by training. To survive, he will keep getting stronger and stronger, and then he will get his revenge. And with red eyes, he swears he will exterminate the demon worshippers. From a distance, the veteran observes the boy and is impressed with his rapid development. In the following days, hundreds of patients arrived at the village seeking treatment. Argel, who saw his wife for the first time in decades, decides to rest a little. But solitude is a place of suffering, and soon more wounded people begin to arrive. True to its name, the system of the place began to affect even the warrior. A severely injured woman calls out to the prisoner with a weak and trembling voice. He then turns and sees a woman identical to his late wife on a stretcher. He thinks that if his son were alive, he would be that girl's age. But the fighter remembers that solitude is a place where everyone takes each other down. With a furious look, the veteran says that those scoundrels have crossed the line. In the cabin, the villagers gather around the bed of the injured and distressed woman. A man begs the saint to help the girl, as she was injured protecting them. The crowd shouts that she saved them from the dark mages and fought on the front lines. The older warrior observes the scene in silence, seeming to think about what to do. He recognizes that the woman's action was noble and decides he will help her. Without question, he begins to heal her, as he had no right to criticize her. The woman thanks him for the compliment, saying it had been a long time since anyone praised her. With a serene smile, the injured girl feels the healing energy flowing through her body. She then closes her eyes and rests as the golden light completely envelopes her. The warrior feels an emotion taking over his body after a long time. It's as if his chest were burning with a feeling he hadn't felt. His hands glow with a powerful golden energy as he heals her. He describes the pain as having your limbs cut off while still alive. The prisoner says those scoundrels touched something they shouldn't have. A man explains that the cultist's curse is still strong in her mind. The veteran understands the situation and prepares for what needs to be done. He then calls for Valera and says she will go with him to solve the problem. The two walk through the dense, foggy forest towards their destination. They find their companions and the vampire king waiting in the clearing. The bear wonders if the vampire king is really on their side in the battle. The Dark Lord appears with a serious and somber look, ready for the meeting. The vampire comments that he never thought he'd fight alongside a saint one day. The elder says he gathered them to reassess the situation and share information. The veteran warrior and the priest face each other, ready to devise a plan. The man says the village has been preparing for war against the cultists. The vampire king reveals they are performing a ritual of 10,000 offerings. He says they have already secured 10,000 prisoners to use as sacrifices. To stop them, they need to attack the 3 bases that protect the ritual's altar. The blonde boy asks why they need to bother attacking the bases. The vampire explains that the power invoked is so great the ground wouldn't hold without them. The bases act as stabilizers, and if they are destroyed, the ritual stops completely. The bear wants to know about the enemy forces, and the vampire says each base has 1,000 dark mages. In addition, he says the cultists also have corrupted monsters under their command. The altar is even worse, as at least 3,000 dark mages protected at all times. With this complicated situation, the group falls silent, thinking of a strategy. One of the men laments that if Ob were there, they could attack 2 bases at once. But the veteran says that even without him, they will attack all 3 at the same time, and the other man doubts it. The old man states that they can, and that he will explain the plan for everyone to follow. With the plan laid out, the warriors begin to move quickly through the dense forest. Then, the following night, the attack on the first demon cult base finally begins. While Alice's wounds were healing, the cultists' suffering was just beginning. Suddenly, one of the lookouts points to the horizon and shouts about an enemy attack. The first to attack were the bloodthirsty vampires led by their king. A cultist tries to send a signal, but the vampire lord stops him, saying not to hesitate. With a sinister smile, the creature of the night shows his fangs and says he'll take care of everything. With that, the signal for war lights up the sky with a gigantic, loud explosion. At the same time, at the second demon cult base, another coordinated attack was beginning. The troops under the veteran warrior's command were advancing to take the other bases. A barrier of dark power could be dispelled with light, and the gates could be broken. The strongest prisoners used their abilities to destroy the enemy's defenses. At the second base, the bear and Valura face the cult commander named Antonciro. The leader of the prisoners shouts for his men to advance and begin the attack. The prisoners under Valura's command charge with full force into the enemy base. With a surprise and well-coordinated attack, they took control of the second base. Meanwhile, at the third cult base, the last fortress was beginning to be attacked. The cultists despair as the eastern barrier is shaking and slowly breaking. The invader then reveals his presence with an overwhelming explosion of purple energy. No matter what was in his path, he was determined to crush everything. His determination was clear, and nothing could stop him in that moment of total fury. The dark mages are in shock, wondering how the barrier was broken so quickly. A commander shouts for all forces to gather at the eastern red wall. They then identify that all this chaos was caused by a single invader. The veteran warrior introduces himself to the crowd, saying his name is Argel Rastos. The bear says that his master cannot be stopped, and that he always sees further and deeper. He states that his master has never been wrong, so he will trust and follow his orders. For him, It doesn't matter if there are hundreds or thousands of dark mages in his path. If his master said he would finish them all, then that's what he will do. The cultists are terrified by the aura of power emanating from the lone warrior. Then so be it, for with a single strike, he defeats several cultists at once. One of the dark mages on the ground wonders who in the world could stop his master. In the air, the veteran warrior releases a purple energy that sweeps away all enemies. With a look of pure fury and glowing blue marks, he becomes an absolute being. Meanwhile, at the demon worshippers' outpost, the news spreads. A woman in armor runs and warns her commander that something terrible has happened. Commander Darkus, a rank 8 prisoner, hears that Argel is attacking the bases. The warrior adds that Enduras and a group of vampires are leading the attack. Darkus is confused, as Enduras was supposed to be on his side, serving the demons. He concludes that the vampire joined the enemy just to ensure his own survival. Without worrying about reinforcements, the leader orders the offering ritual to be rushed. He says he prepared for a counter-attack and will not be defeated so easily. At each outpost, he positioned corrupted monsters to deal with the invaders. A man eating ogre appears at the first outpost to stop the vampires. The creature attacks with brutal force, throwing all enemies far away. With its overwhelming power, the corrupted monster creates a trail of destruction. The vampires are thrown into the air, with no chance to fight back against the ogre's strength. At the second outpost, another corrupted monster, a mountain ogre, appears. With a sinister smile and red eyes, the creature prepares for battle. At the third outpost, more enemies are defeated by the invaders. The veteran prisoner faces a corrupted monster known as the Ghost Shadow. The creature with red fur and a fierce face prepares to attack the warrior. The monster approaches with a large club in hand, ready to crush its opponent. The elder comments that Darkus seems to have prepared very well for the confrontation. He mocks that his rival must be terrified to have created such a plan. At that, the creature charges forward and attacks with impressive speed and strength. The veteran warrior is thrown back by the force of the monster's blow. With a barrage of strikes, the creature tries to hit the old man, but he dodges. Then, the prisoner manages to block one of the attacks with his purple energy. With his dagger in hand, he prepares to counter the corrupted monster's attack. But the creature gives him no time and lunges forward with a powerful and devastating punch. The warrior then concentrates his energy for an even stronger counterattack. The two powers collide in a gigantic explosion of purple and orange energy. The surrounding cultists are thrown far away by the shockwave of the explosion. After the attack, the old man kneels and wonders how long it's been since he fought like this. He comments that it's been a while since he sweated so much in a battle like that. With a wound on his head, the warrior shows that the fight is proving difficult. He admits the enemy's preparations were good, but that they didn't come by chance. The veteran reveals he also made his own preparations and takes a mysterious pill. With that, a purple aura explodes from his body, hitting all the surrounding cultists. The pill releases an immense explosion of purple energy that sweeps across the entire battlefield. With that, at the first demon worshipper's outpost, the battle continues. There, the vampire king faces the corrupted monster with a powerful aerial attack. With a serious look, the vampire lord says they have finally arrived for the fight. He then calls for his loyal servants, who took a long time to arrive from so far away. A swarm of giant bats advances and attacks the cultists without mercy. At the second outpost, the prisoners fight bravely against the enemies. The bear prepares to use a trump card and help his companions in the battle. He holds an ancient scroll with mysterious scriptures in his hands, and he shouts to the survivors that they are lucky and should feel honored. He explains that it is a scroll of light that summons a magical armor. With that, the item glows, and a golden armor begins to form around him. The armor also equips the other prisoners but only lasts for 2 hours. The bear says that's enough, and that he will crush all the enemies. Meanwhile, at the third outpost, the cultists face the veteran warrior. The corrupted creature analyzes its opponent before starting the final attack. Then the monster charges and delivers a powerful kick that the old man manages to dodge. The prisoner and the creature stand face to face, ready for the next blow. Suddenly, the monster seems confused, as if something is wrong in the air. The elder says that what he prepared for the battle is something very special. He reveals that his secret weapon is darkness and envelopes everyone in shadows. The cultists panic as they can't see anything and try to find the enemy. One of them tries to calm everyone down, but the emotion of fear has already taken over the place. The veteran says they are terrified, and one of the cultists is attacked in the darkness. He comments that it's hard to suppress emotions as he attacks the enemies one by one. The warrior then begins to reabsorb the darkness he himself created. He thinks that using this power wears him out greatly, and he won't be able to use it for a while. With all the cultists on the ground, he says the third outpost has been taken. The enemy commander survives, and the old man congratulates him for managing it. The cultist then offers himself as a tribute to the entity he worships. With a grim ritual, he uses his dagger to invoke an ancient power. The commander asks to become one with the wise ones, and a red energy explodes. The bodies of the fallen cultists begin to merge into a monstrous form. The veteran warrior watches the transformation, shocked by what is happening. A giant monster with tentacles and multiple eyes emerges, and he says this is going to take a while. The creature charges at the prisoner with surprising and terrifying speed. The elder dodges the attack and prepares to face the new threat head-on. With his dagger in hand, he delivers several blows of purple energy against the monster. The warrior moves so fast, he creates clones of himself while attacking the creature. He realizes it's a giant golem of bodies, and that the most troublesome one stayed on watch. He thinks he doesn't need to fight and could just destroy the post, but something bothers him. The creature exudes a strange aura, and he decides he will resolve this right now. The prisoner grips his dagger, preparing to fight even though he is at his limit. He remembers difficult times and understands that sometimes he can't back down. Suddenly, he turns in surprise upon hearing the arrival of an unexpected group. The king of the beasts arrives, saying he came to pay his debt, but the old man thinks it's not enough. Klask, a Class 6 prisoner, gets furious and asks what more he wants. The beastman reveals he gathered the entire beast circle to help in the battle. He says he brought all his men just to be able to settle his debt. The warrior asks how he found the place, and Klask says Valura told him. The veteran seems to accept the help, and the beastmen prepare for combat. Klask says that Hoke and Menlock send their regards, and that they are all well. He says a debt is a debt, but it's also dangerous to let the mages get stronger. The elder says he could have handled it alone, but since they want to help, he allows it. With that, the king of the beasts shouts for his men to get to work on the fight. The old man thinks the group is powerful, as expected from the former raiders. A beastman curses at the creature, and it wonders if he really said that. An eagle woman scolds her companion, asking him to watch his language. At this, the older warrior is speechless and seems confused by the scene. The golem of bodies attacks with its tentacles, grabbing several beastmen. With its powerful limbs, the creature throws the warriors away with force. Klask shouts at his men, calling them idiots for charging in without thinking. One of them asks in confusion if the captain didn't order them to fight with everything they had. The leader of the beasts gets annoyed and asks if his companions have no brains. Then one of his strongest subordinates rips a giant rock from the ground. He hurls the boulder with full force and hits the giant creature squarely. Klask then orders the vanguard to cut the tentacles and the strongest to throw rocks. The veteran observes the strategy and thinks they are very similar to hyenas. They can see the enemy's weaknesses and exploit them efficiently. The leader gives ideal orders for the characteristics of each of his men, and his subordinates follow the orders quickly and without question. The prisoner understands that their specialty in raiding has made them efficient. With that, a shower of rocks and aerial attacks hits the creature relentlessly. The power of a group with a clear hierarchy cannot be ignored in battle. Then the king of the beasts concentrates of blue electrical energy in his fist. With a powerful blow, he strikes the golem of bodies with all his might. The creature screams in pain as it's hit by the beastman's electric punch. With the monster defeated, the veteran and Klask face each other on the battlefield. The old man approaches the creature's body and finds something shining inside it. He picks up a glowing gem, and Klask asks what that strange object is. He says he will ask someone named Tyron to analyze that gem fragment. Then the king of the beasts asks what the old man plans to do next. With a determined look, the veteran prisoner reveals his ambitious plan. He reveals he intends to become the master of the jungle, and the other asks if he's serious. Then he offers a piece of the jungle to the beastmen if they follow him. With a loud laugh, the king of the beasts accepts the proposal and decides to take the risk. The alliance is sealed, and Klask asks if they will attack the other outposts. But the prisoner says he heard Anton's story in the darkness he created. The scene then cuts to the second outpost of the demon worshippers. In that place, the Allies were victorious and won the war against the cultists. Back in Valura's temporary village, the atmosphere was one of pure celebration. The prisoners, victorious in battle, were enjoying the joy of the moment. The joy was even greater because they were able to bring back the spoils of war. The only person who couldn't celebrate the victory was Valura himself. He and the bear looked worriedly at the girl lying in the bedroom. The beast says there's no news and asks if the Sate is worried about Enduras. He says the vampire commands over 1,000 servants and wouldn't be easily defeated. He imagines if there was a negotiation to divide the power of the great offering. With a serious look, the man concludes that in that case, the vampire would betray them. In a memory, Darkies is furious about the vampire lord's betrayal against him. The fall of the first outpost was a failure because the enemy came straight there. He then tells the vampire to experience the weight of having made the wrong choice. The vampire lord feels firsthand the terrible weight of his wrong choice. Back in the present, the prisoner finds the priest on top of a cliff. The grandfather asks if he's had any news, as he was expecting at least a bat signal. The man fears the vampire betrayed them, and that they need to prepare for the worst. But the veteran says if he did betray them, he will take him down himself without hesitation. The priest is reassured and trusts that the grandfather already has a plan in mind. The elder says he was either defeated or betrayed them, and Valura is surprised. The warrior explains that winning a battle isn't just about having superior numbers. He says if there's no news by morning, they will go to the headquarters themselves. Seeing the other's silence, the veteran asks if he has anything else to say. The priest then asks if the grandfather has ever found an empty throne of darkness. With a serious expression on his face, the older warrior answers yes. He explains that the so-called empty thrones appear more often than one might think. They appear in various forms and are sometimes not even seen as demons. The saint becomes thoughtful with the older warrior's detailed explanation. He reveals he found Gluttony, whom the vampire serves, and the old man praises him. The man says he managed to resist temptation because of the constellation of desires, but he thinks his grandfather doesn't believe in constellations of light and prefers deals. The elder notices the priest still has doubts and encourages him to speak. So Valura asks directly if his grandfather made a pact with an empty throne of darkness. A memory of the veteran warrior's past appears, showing his difficult journey. The veteran repeats his grandson's question with a serious and pensive expression. Seeing the older man's silence, the priest concludes that he is not denying the accusation. He thinks that his blessing of light, which heals dark mages, doesn't work on his grandfather, and he wonders how a rank one prisoner could destroy an outpost alone. The two then continue to walk together through the dense and mysterious forest. Valura has a look of shock and concern about the whole situation. Suddenly, the old man stops and starts writing something on a large rock in the clearing. The priest is confused and asks what on earth he is doing there. He reads the inscription and realizes it's a message about a wish and a sacrifice. The message says that he lost his light, but that his soul still belongs to him. His wish is beyond the sun, and even without light, he will not be consumed by darkness. With that, the priest looks at his grandfather with an expression of pure terror and disbelief. The next morning, the group of warriors gathers again in the forest clearing. The veteran says that since there is no news from Enduras, they will depart for the headquarters. Valura then questions how they will attack and if they shouldn't have a meeting. Klask reveals that these are only part of his forces and that he can call 1,000 more. The blonde boy is impressed by the number of warriors that can join them. The Sate reveals he has 300 prisoners, totaling 1,300 combatants. But he remembers that the enemy headquarters, there are 3,000 dark mages. The king of the beasts says that despite the numbers, war is full of unpredictable events. The elder agrees with the beastman, saying that war is indeed unpredictable. He says they won't use a war of attrition, but rather an unconventional strategy. He then shows the mysterious weapon and says that with it, there is a lot of potential. The group looks at the purple artifact with an expression of complete confusion. Meanwhile, in the demon worshippers' camp, the mood is tense. Commander Darkus seems furious about the recent events in the battle. He thinks that 2 outposts have been destroyed and the ritual is delayed, but by tomorrow, a new altar will be made and the offering will finally happen. With that, he can follow the orders of a mysterious and powerful woman. With a frightening smile, She tells him to go and end Argel Lados's life. The commander then swears he will offer the head of his great enemy. Inside the demon worshippers' camp, the routine continues as usual. Several dark mages use their magic to perform their daily tasks. They wash monster meat for the meal that is almost ready to be served. A cultist drinks water and says that hydration is essential to not delay the schedule. From the top of a cliff, the group of heroes observes the enemy camp. Klask complains that 4 days have passed and that he is starving. The bear tells them to wait for the master's signal, but the hyena complains that he didn't even say what it would be. At this, Valera reflects that he has been trying to understand the hidden meaning of his grandfather's words for the past few days. He worries about the worst-case scenario and wonders what he should do if everything goes wrong. With that, he decides to stop overthinking and focus on the enemy before him. He thinks he has no choice but to trust his grandfather and follow his orders. The old man then holds a strange, horn-shaped purple object, preparing for something. He then opens the lid of the mysterious artifact, revealing its contents. The warrior throws the contents into a barrel of water, which turns green, and he thinks about the unpredictability of war. He observes the several barrels and thinks they will not use a conventional war of attrition. That's why he reveals he has prepared 3 types of strategies to deal with the enemies. The elder then reveals that his first attack strategy will be the use of poison. With the plan in mind, the old man waits in front of the barrels that were prepared for the mission. At that moment, a group approaches, and the warrior says they arrived earlier than he expected. The group is formed by native jungle warriors who wear masks and are very strong. The leader, who is the king of the northern jungle natives, says he gathered his fastest warriors. He then asks if the elder will break his tribe's curse as part of their agreement. The old man confirms it's the final task and promises to break the curse if they take the barrel to the river. One of the warriors is doubtful, as last time they fetched a person and now a barrel. The tribe leader then says they have no choice and will do as they were ordered. The veteran watches the natives leave and thinks he could have spread the poison in the river himself. But he thinks he would be caught by the mages and their detection skills, as they don't care about the natives. Therefore, he concludes that this is the most effective method, and that everyone should follow it. The scene then cuts to the demon worshippers' camp with its mages everywhere. Suddenly, a cultist starts to feel sick, and the muscles of the poisoned begin to paralyze. With that, they feel a terrible pain until the final moment of their lives. But the poison was just a means to cause chaos, as the real beginning was now. The hyena shouts that the sorcerers are collapsing and that this must be the old man's signal. The king of the beasts tells Valura he will do exactly what the elder told him to do. The cultists spot an intruder and try to alert the attack unit, but several are down. With a powerful leap, the king of the beasts charges alone into the enemy camp. Meanwhile, Valura begins to recite an incantation called Eye of the Heavens to see all sins. As the cultists try to climb the stairs, the priest continues his powerful incantation. Klask carries the priest and, with his help, launches a purple energy attack on the camp. The powerful purple energy attack hits the camp, creating a large explosion on sight. After the attack, the priest says that the light of divine punishment will finally fall upon them. He then prepares to use another spell, and now with the attribute of light. With that, a gigantic explosion of light hits the enemy camp with full force. In a memory, the old man explains that they should break the barrier with a light spell. He had warned that the camp's barriers were strong and that it would take time to break them. Even so, the light spell continues to hammer the energy barrier without stopping for a second. The priest is surprised by the powerful force of light and cannot believe what he sees. In a flashback, the elder reveals that he captured the king of the natives upon arriving in the jungle. His second strategy involved Iob, the leader of the fanatics, to destroy the barrier. For everything to work out, he needed Ob's help and his powers of light. A messenger delivers an item from Argel to Ob and says he asked for help. With this, the old man wanted the cooperation of the Saints of Light, and the two team up. A gigantic explosion of white light hits the barrier with full force. With their combined power, the enemy's defensive barrier finally shatters. The bear, with his axe, shouts that the door is open and everyone should follow him. Ob prepares for battle, saying he was waiting for an opportunity like this. With his weapon glowing, the leader of the fanatics leaps and attacks the cultists. With the wall destroyed, the allied armies advance into the enemy base. One of the followers of light shouts for the cultists to prepare for judgment. Inside the base, Commander Darkus and his followers perform a dark ritual. He is the commander of Batty's Legion and seems to be furious about the invasion. A warrior reports that a poison has spread and Klask's beasts have invaded. The commander is furious because first it was Endura's, and now other pests have arrived. Then, a purple energy explodes throughout the camp to help the cultists. This energy spreads and covers the entire base of the demon worshippers. The cultists realize it is Darkus's blessing, and the pain from the poison vanishes. Recovered and full of energy, they prepare for the counterattack. With that, the two armies clash in a brutal battle at the entrance of the base. The leader says he will join the fight after the offering and sends word to everyone. He orders everyone to resist, as victory will be theirs at the end of the battle. At that moment, the commander notices something in the sky and goes on high alert. Meanwhile, Argel reveals that he has a third and final strategy. He says the idea came to him while watching Klask fight the flying prisoners. Poisoning the river and breaking the barrier were part of the third strategy. Then, a winged creature grabs him and carries him through the skies at high speed. The two fly directly towards the ritual the commander was performing. The eagle creature shouts that it is an honor to serve its chief on that mission. The elder thanks him and lets go, saying that now it will be easy to handle everything. With a leap, the veteran warrior dives towards his great enemy. He lands perfectly on the ground, right in front of the enemy commander. With his dagger in hand, the old man walks slowly towards his rival. The commander says he thought they would meet later and is surprised. The elder asks if Darkus harmed Alice, but he says he doesn't know who that is. The commander says that one thing became clear the moment they met. He reveals that to deal with someone immune to dark magic, this is the only way. The veteran warrior gets a serious expression upon hearing his rival's revelation. He notices that the enemy shrinks and compresses his muscles to enhance his abilities. With a grotesque transformation, the commander prepares for battle against the veteran. His final form is that of a demon with horns and a very resistant natural armor. With a threatening look, the monster says his opponent should reconsider the fight. The demonic creature stands in the center of the burned altar, ready for the final combat. He says he finally understood why a certain person sent him to take him down. The commander states that his rival is an obstacle, a stone that must be removed. Therefore, he swears he will erase the veteran warrior's existence here and now. The creature lunges with a punch, but the old man dodges with incredible speed. The monster is surprised and asks if his opponent is splitting time to move. He concludes that the warrior must be using a dark ability to do so. With several clones of himself, the elder prepares for a quick counterattack. The commander realizes this is how his enemy has been fighting the entire battle. He attacks one of the clones, but it vanishes in a cloud of smoke and energy. With that, the real warrior takes advantage of the opening and attacks from behind the enemy. With a swift and precise strike, he hits the creature's neck with his dagger. The commander, however, doesn't seem to feel the attack and glares at his opponent from the side. Suddenly, tentacles of purple energy emerge from the old man's body and surround him. The demon recognizes the darkness of the void and calls him a dark mage. Just like him, the warrior's clones attack the commander from all sides with swift blows. The creature manages to defend against the attacks with ease, and without much effort. The elder says that depends on one's point of view, and that he can think whatever he wants. The scene then cuts to the prison inside the demon worshippers' camp. A heavy, rusty chain breaks with a loud, thunderous sound in the place. The vampire king complains about the humiliation of having to deceive his fellow prisoners. But he says he has no choice, as he needs to secure his place as the old man's ally. With a quick move, the vampire lord frees himself and destroys his cell with power. He then flies and frees all the other prisoners from the camp's cells. Back in the fight, the commander says that place is his private sanctuary. He then mocks the warrior's aged body and challenges him to a fight. The old man attacks with his dagger, but the poison has no effect on the commander's body. He says that such an insignificant attack like that would never work against him. With that, the monster reveals that the offering is complete, and a portal appears in the sky. The veteran observes the scene in silence with a serious expression on his face. A giant creature with purple eyes emerges, and the commander asks for its power. With a vacant stare, the entity looks at the commander, ready to grant his request. A beam of energy strikes the creature, which screams in both pain and power. The veteran warrior continues to watch the scene without moving a single muscle. The cultists get excited with the entity's arrival and prepare for the onslaught. The bear notices the enemy's power growing and calls out for his master. The leader of the fanatics shouts furiously for them, invoking an evil god in that land. With that, an evil aura even denser than before envelops the entire battle altar. The commander's presence was no longer explosive and wild, but calm and oppressive. The veteran then realizes that his enemy has entered a new dimension of total power. When the mist dissipates, the figure that emerges is that of a frightening and imposing demon. The silhouette of the transformed commander stands out with his glowing red eyes. With absurd speed, the creature lunges to hit the old man with a precise blow. The demonic monster smiles sinisterly as it prepares its most devastating attack. Its attack creates a shock wave that destroys the entire ground and part of the base's wall. But the veteran warrior manages to withstand the impact and remains standing among the rebel. Without wasting time, the creature approaches again to deliver another powerful blow. The two opponents exchange blows so fast they cause several explosions around the area. The surrounding cultists are thrown far away by the force of the two fighters' attacks. One of the mages shouts for everyone to get back, as anyone caught in the fight will be done for instantly. The commander lands a blow that sends the veteran flying with great force and impact. The demonic creature then watches its opponent being hurled across the battlefield. But tentacles of purple energy emerge and protect the old man from the impact of the enemy's attack. The commander becomes furious and asks why Argel isn't fighting back. Despite this, he says he respects him, as he is also a dark mage like himself. With that, the monster invites him to join them and promises to forgive his audacity. The veteran warrior remains silent with a serious and determined expression on his face. With his purple energy tentacles around him, he says that was enough. Then, the tentacles lunge forward and attack the commander with incredible speed. The monster wonders where this power is coming from, as his rival shouldn't have any energy left. The old man asks if Darkus still thinks he has the advantage and says he is mistaken. He reveals that until now, he was just holding back and didn't fight with his full power. The vampire king explains that the elder helped him rescue a young man named Lucas. The boy should be far from here by now, along with the other prisoners who were freed. The veteran reveals he anticipated that Darkus would use the boy as a hostage if cornered. He thinks that precious things can become weaknesses, but he has already taken care of that. The old man then tells the commander that now it's his turn to be nervous about the fight. Without hesitation, the king of vampires lunges forward with a powerful punch against the commander. He says that a prisoner as furious as himself has finally arrived for the battle. With a look of pure fury, the vampire faces the commander, ready for the final combat. With incredible speed, he hits the monster squarely, sending it flying. The vampire lord thanks his grandfather for calling him to the battle to come. Meanwhile, the priest notices that the rescued boy has several fractures in his body. He says the curse of darkness has penetrated his soul and begins to heal him right away. Back in the fight, the vampire king's fury was visible in his look of pure hatred. He feels the enemy's pressure, but notices that the veteran is not shaken by all the power. The vampire lord wonders if the old man simply doesn't feel fear and becomes filled with rage. At that, the grandfather tells him to go back and reduce allied casualties, and the grandson agrees. With a swift leap, the vampire departs for the battlefield to help his allies. Then, the elder asks his grandson if he remembers the 3 conditions for fighting. In a memory, he explains that to fight effectively, 3 conditions are necessary. The grandfather then says that now is the perfect time to learn, which is why he called him there. The commander gets annoyed by them talking so much right in front of him during the battle. With that, the creature attacks with a powerful kick that creates a large energy explosion. Before, the old man had said he would draw out his potential, but it would be a burden for 7 minutes. The warrior then begins to transfer his purple energy into the vampire lord's body. An aura of power surrounds the grandson as his body begins to transform. He assumes his lycanthrope form with the powerful armor of darkness and immense power. With a ferocious look, the transformed creature prepares to face the commander. The enemy monster is shocked and furious at his opponent's sudden transformation. The 2 powers clash in a gigantic explosion that shakes the entire battlefield. The lycanthrope attacks the demon with a barrage of fast and very powerful blows. He remembers the 3 things his grandfather taught him and starts with the first lesson. The two exchange brutal punches that create shock waves with each impact of their fists. With his sharp claws dug into the ground, he prepares for the next attack. The first lesson was to fight according to his instincts, and he attacks with full force. He dodges a blow from the demonic creature and remembers his grandfather's second lesson. The second was to know how to be passive, and he takes a powerful blow that throws him back. With that, the lycanthrope howls in pain, or perhaps in anger, after taking the enemy's attack. At that moment, the third lesson comes to his mind as he remembers the injured boy. The third lesson was to never forget the hatred he felt in that moment. With his eyes glowing with rage, the beast lunges forward with a devastating counterattack. He then fires energy blasts from his hands that hit the enemy squarely. Suddenly, the lycanthrope turns in surprise, as if something unexpected were happening. With a powerful attack, the commander throws his opponent far away, and he flies through the air. The elder thinks that growth requires a driving force, like anger and hatred. He concludes that this drastically accelerates growth as the two face each other. The intense battle between the two powerful beings continues to destroy the entire area. The commander manages to block a punch from the lycanthrope and is surprised by his strength. He thinks furiously that he was chosen by the throne of the void and shouldn't be fighting like this. With a roar of fury, the demon attacks and slams the lycanthrope to the ground. The monster then shouts for Argel to stop the games and show up to fight for real. Suddenly, the beast appears in front of him in the blink of an eye, ready to attack. With a devastating punch, he hits the commander's face with full force. The lycanthrope then roars in triumph after successfully hitting his enemy. With a determined look, the beast shows that it will not give up the battle so easily. With a furious growl, the beast delivers a powerful punch that its enemy defends. The commander is shocked by his opponent's strength and resilience. He shouts that if his rival falls today, it will be because of the old prisoner behind him. The old man then says it's almost time for his turn to truly enter the battle. He reveals that the commander didn't make a pact with the throne of the void, and the other is shocked. The veteran warrior explains that a mysterious sorceress gave him his power. The monster is surprised and asks how he knows that, and if he knows the sorceress. The elder ignores the question and advances to attack the commander with his dagger. He says she has the power to leave the place, but has remained there all this time. With an ironic smile, the old man reveals it's because it's easier to find a scapegoat there. With his eyes glowing with rage, the commander is furious at the veteran's revelation. With that, several tentacles of purple energy lunge forward and attack the demonic creature. The tentacles wrap around the monster's body and immobilize it with force and precision. The commander tries to break free but realizes his strength is gone and he can't move. With his eyes glowing, he seems to be affected by some powerful magic. Suddenly, the beast charges forward and lands a devastating punch on the immobilized demon's face. The blow is so powerful that it cracks the commander's mask and armor instantly. With a cry of pain, the creature is thrown back by the impact of the beast's attack. The lycanthrope seizes the chance and attacks again with an even stronger punch. The attack destroys part of the commander's armor and leaves him heavily injured in the fight. With a look of pure fury, the beast prepares to deliver the final blow in the battle. The veteran thinks that even with the attack, it would be difficult to land a fatal blow on Darkus. Suddenly, he spits out a dark liquid and realizes he will have to intervene in the end. He kneels as the side effects of the medicine he took hit him. In a high-level fight, a single moment can turn the tables and grant victory. The elder is on the ground with the puddle beside him, and the commander prepares to attack. Darkus doesn't miss the moment and lands a fatal blow on the lycanthrope's chest. Combat always contains unexpected variables that can change the entire outcome. With his grandson severely injured, the commander stands victorious before him. He then turns to face the true opponent, remaining on the battlefield. The demon mocks the old man's plan, calling it a tiresome and useless trick. He asks if his rival orchestrated everything, relying only on a young beast as a weapon. With a quick move, the commander advances to end the veteran's life. Suddenly, he finds himself in a dark place and wonders what happened and where he is. The elder explains that for someone like him, projecting an illusion is a difficult task. He then reveals that this place is a realm built inside Darkus's mind. The commander is shocked by the revelation and the power of his great enemy. He realizes he is trembling with fear for the first time in a long time. The veteran says that the demon he so loathes is at the bottom of that cliff. Angrily, the monster advances to attack, but the old man strikes him. He then says it's useless to have the power to destroy mountains in the real world. Without a strong spirit to support the power, you end up being devoured by it with a swift move. The old man closes his hand and captures the miniature commander. The monster screams in pain as it is crushed by the warrior's hand within the illusion. The veteran then asks what the sorceress ordered him to do after the offering. With that, the commander shouts that he won't tell him anything, and the old man tightens his grip. The demon is left breathless and panting from the pain and pressure of the veteran's attack. He then confesses that the sorceress said he would become a high-ranking prisoner. He then reveals he was supposed to capture Argel and take him to the other mountain. The old man releases him and asks if that's all, and the commander confirms on the ground. Suddenly, the veteran shouts his grandson's name, who is waiting for his signal. With a swift leap, the lycanthrope charges and attacks the commander with its claws. The elder says that with this, the sorceress's plans have been ruined once again. He says he will no longer run and will eliminate the sorceress to settle this old score. Looking into the forest, he asks if his enemy failed again and how she feels. A strange sound echoes through the forest, and the fog stirs with a malevolent presence. A giant frightening mask appears in the sky and calls Argel Lastos his name. The entity challenges him to a direct confrontation, and the veteran says he will take care of her soon. He then tells the sorceress that time continues to pass, and she can fight as much as she wants. With a smile, he says that in 2 years, he will have the last laugh, and she calls him conceited. The entity says he has been repeating that same phrase for 25 years without success. The scene cuts to the battlefield, now destroyed and covered in debris. The cultists realize that Dark's blessing has disappeared and begin to panic. On top of a rock, the lycanthrope shouts and gets the attention of all the enemies. He shows the commander's head and says that anyone who resists will be taken down without mercy. With Dark's blessing undone, the war came to a swift and decisive end for them. None of the dark mages surrendered, and all fought to the end for their leader. The beast packs and the village prisoners also suffered casualties in the battle. Suddenly, a golden, healing light appears and envelopes the body of one of the wounded. The constellation of light heals the allies, and the bear is surprised by its power. The outcome of this war had a much greater significance than anyone expected. With this, the collapse of the demon worshippers, who dominated the jungle, was total. The act of dominating this vast jungle elevated him to the status of a pillar of solitude. Thus, Argel Lastos was established as the supreme commander of the Great Alliance. He then gathers the war leaders for an important meeting in the forest. The reasons were to give rewards for their deeds and to reveal the nature of the true enemy. The victory celebration was quiet, and Argel assigned sectors to each one. The eastern jungle went to Krask, and the northern jungle to Aub, who accepted. The southern jungle went to Balura, and the western jungle was assigned to Enduras. He forbids interference between sectors, and everyone agrees with the orders. He then reveals that the true identity of the enemy are the Pillars of Solitude. One of these pillars is the sorceress Kaholtak, a powerful and dangerous woman. The veteran explains that Darkus attacked him on her orders, and that more will come to hunt him. Despite this, he sees it as a chance to strengthen his organization and protect more people. With that, he orders everyone to prepare for the conflicts, and they agree immediately. A map shows the 4 regions, divided among the prisoner leaders of the Alliance. Meanwhile, the veteran commander inspected each sector without stopping for a minute. The other prisoners began to train to overcome their weaknesses after the war. Sero also trained intensely, destroying rocks with his brute force and power. With a determined look, he strived to become even stronger than before. His blows created shock waves that echoed throughout the training ground. Suddenly, he remembers seeing a boy following the old man Argel around. In a nearby village, the boy hears people referring to him as a commodity. The men talk about how the old man made a deal with the guards to protect him. The young man hears them speculating that the old man plans to sell him for a high price. This revelation leaves him shocked and shaken by what he just discovered. Over time, his rational judgment began to form, and he started to question everything. He wonders why the old man went to such lengths to save him if he was a burden. With the conversation in mind, he thinks he needs a reason and decides to confront him. Without hesitation, the boy goes to the veteran to clear his doubts once and for all. He then approaches and asks directly why he is being called a commodity. The young man repeats the question with a serious expression, waiting for an answer from the old man. He stands in front of the veteran, who looks at him in silence for a moment. The boy thinks that even without understanding, he always saved him, and that's why he trusted him. With a pained expression, the boy says he truly believed in the veteran. That's why he never asked anything, but now he thinks it's time to know the truth. With wide eyes, he asks if the veteran really intends to sell him. The commander remains silent with a serious and thoughtful expression on his face. He then confirms that the boy is a commodity and that he protects him in exchange for payment. The young man is devastated, as he saw him as a grandfather, but in the end, he was nothing to him. He clutches his clothes and asks if he was at least useful to the veteran during this time. With a trembling voice, the boy asks if he was even a companion to the old man. The veteran replies no, and that the boy cannot become his power yet. He explains that the boy is weak and lacks experience or leadership like his other allies. An aura of sadness and disappointment surrounds the young man at the commander's harsh words. Suddenly, the veteran places a hand on the boy's shoulder to comfort him a little. He kneels in front of the boy to be at the same height and look into his eyes. The old man then reveals that the boy is his precious and true battle friend. A gentle smile appears on the veteran commander's face as he looks at him. He promises that when the time comes, he will get him out of that place, and the young man is shocked. He guarantees it will be a safe place and promises he will get him out of there for good. The veteran then asks the boy if he finally understands the situation. With tears in his eyes, the young man nods as the old man wipes his face. The scene shows the silhouette of the two in the forest, with an aura of farewell. 2 days later, a cell gate opens with a loud metallic noise. 1 month later, the so-called liberation of the prisoners finally comes to an end. With that, the entire prison was talking only about Arjul, the new master of the jungle, and his power. The low-ranking prisoners didn't know the truth and just ignored the rumors. But those who knew the truth feared the great change that was to come. 2 months later, the veteran and his companions walked down a corridor with a guard. The officer, named Tallman, says he was waiting for him with a serious look. He tells the group to hurry up, and the old man complains about the guard's impatience with him. They follow a long corridor towards a giant, modern structure. The camera speeds up, showing the group moving quickly through the metallic corridor. They then go up in a sort of giant elevator at high speed. A large metal door opens, revealing a new area of the facility to them. On the other side, a man with white hair and a cape was waiting for them on a platform. The boy is in shock upon seeing the mysterious figure standing before him there. With tears in his eyes, he cries out for his father, and the man confirms his identity. The king of the lycanthropes then tells someone to enter without taking his eyes off the veteran. Sero remembers the promise the old man made to reunite him with his father one day. He lowers his head, emotional about the reunion he had waited so long for. A montage shows all the moments they spent together until that day. Crying, the boy thanks the veteran for everything he had done for him up to that point. The commander then affectionately pats the boy's head in a gesture of farewell. They hug, and the old man tells him to take care, while the young man says the same. Then, Ciro and the other man board a ship that was waiting for them on the platform. The king of the lycanthropes says he has a few words for the veteran, and he agrees. A man in a suit appears, and Arjul asks if this was the talk they were supposed to have. Terahal apologizes for having investigated the veteran's past before they met. The man in the suit then asks what exactly sparked Terahal's interest. He confirms that the old man's target for revenge is the Cult of Light, and Arjul agrees. With a furious expression, the lycanthrope king asks who he really is. The man in the suit says it has nothing to do with the contract, but Arjul ignores him. He says it's a story from a long time ago and prepares to tell everything. From the ship, Ciro watches the scene, curious and worried about their conversation. He wonders what they could be talking about for so long. Terahal is shocked by the story and says he must be kidding. The man in the suit comments that the world is full of absurdities and strange things. The lycanthrope king then says he hopes the story was to his liking. The lycanthrope king questions the story because if he's been there for 60 years, something doesn't add up. The man in the suit then explains that time there passes 6 times faster than normal. With that, he reveals that Arjul's 64-year sentence follows galactic time. Terahal falls silent, processing the shocking information he just received. This meant that inside the prison, the veteran had lived for over 300 160 years. The king is astonished that he has lived longer than him, but the old man says that time is relative. In his thoughts, the lycanthrope lord can barely remain calm with the decision, but his survival instinct told him to ally with the man before him. Without another word, the king of the lycanthropes extends his hand to seal a deal. The veteran's wrinkled hand then shakes his in a gesture of trust and alliance. With that, a pact is sealed, and the king says he will help him, as they have the same goal. With a confident smile on his face, the lycanthrope lord shows his determination. The veteran commander also seems satisfied with the outcome of that conversation. Then, the ship takes off and flies away as the elder watches from the ground. Inside the ship, Ciro promises himself that he will continue to strive to become stronger. He swears that the next time they meet, he will be the power the veteran needs. With that, he will become the greatest force and the greatest power for his great friend and master. Back on the platform, the old man bids Ciro farewell with a silent, calm goodbye. The scene then cuts to the interior of a high-tech prison with lights and panels. A technological chair activates with blue lights, and a hologram begins to form. The prison director, named Shoryosen, asks if his guest has been well. A hologram of a man in a suit appears, and the director calls him Lord Charisman. The Lord greets him and invites him for a drink while they talk. The director accepts the invitation and thinks that it means the moment is very valuable. With that, a golden, sparkling drink is poured into a glass on the table. The two drink, and the Lord asks what the prisoner Argel is doing at the moment. The director says he asked to rest in solitary confinement, and his request was granted. The Lord finds that very much like the veteran, and prepares to ask an important question. He asks who would win a war between Argel's organization and the sorceresses. Shuriosen replies that the old man is very old, and that is his greatest weakness. The Lord agrees and says that surviving for hundreds of years in a human body is a miracle, but the director remembers that this was only possible because his master helped him all along. He says the supply of pills was the main factor, as one is worth a planet. Few can fight against Argel's ability, but this is only possible because he is human. Wantak knows her rival's weakness and knows that her ability doesn't work on monsters. The prisoner's monsters are different, and the Lord questions the team's interference. He says they can't because the Cult of Light and the galactic government are watching. He calls them pests who take too much interest in others' property, and he hates it. The director asks what he will do if they notice the deal to protect a prisoner. The Lord says it's not strange for the director to know, as his position is very high. With a smile, the Lord asks if the director really knows what kind of deal it is. The director bows and says he would never overstep his bounds to know the details. The holographic man laughs and invites him to share his deduction about the deal. The director thinks this is his chance to confirm his suspicions, and that it would be rude to refuse. With that, he prepares to ask and expose his theory about the master's plans. The scene then cuts to Argel's hands in a position of deep meditation. He is sitting on the floor of his cell in solitary confinement, focused and silent. In a memory, a cell door opens with a red light and smoke. A guard informs him that he will be transferred, and he wonders if the time has already passed. He is then escorted down a dark, technological corridor of the maximum security prison. A guard tells him to enter the cell and warns him to be careful with the other prisoners. The veteran agrees to the order and enters the cell without another word. He walks to the center of the dark cell and prepares for his new routine there. Back in the conversation, the director begins his story about an incident from 100 years ago. He talks about the War of the Apostles between the forces of light and darkness. The Lord comments that those were good times, as many weapons were sold back then. 3 apostles of light and 1 of darkness fell in the hard-fought war, but the apostles of light were quickly replaced by other warriors. However, the throne of an apostle of darkness still remained vacant to this day. The holographic man remains silent, listening intently to the director's deduction. The director continues his explanation with an expression of nervousness and anticipation. He says that Argel's power is an authority of darkness, and that his time there is a preparation. The intention is to prepare him to become the new apostle of darkness, of wrath. In a flashback, other prisoners wonder who the old man who just arrived is. A monster confronts him and tells him to get out of his way as he was trying to eat. The veteran faces him with a serious and unshakable expression, without moving from his spot. The creature gets angry and shouts that the old man is ruining its appetite with his presence. The director thinks that they are housing the future apostle of darkness right there in the prison. He concludes that the government would be shocked, and the asset is worth as much as an apostle. The Lord thanks him and says his deduction wasn't bad, but it was only partially correct. The director says he doesn't need to tell him the truth, as some things are better left unsaid. But the Lord says he will tell Argel's secret because the alcohol has made him talkative. The scene cuts to a violent battle with the veteran fighting against several enemies. One of the prisoners screams in pain as he is hit by a powerful blow. A leader shouts furiously about why his men can't stop a single old man. A wave of swift attacks cuts through the air and hits several enemies at once. The veteran fights with ferocity and skill amidst the chaos and destruction. He is covered in grime as the Lord explains that many prisoners arrive there. The number above the code represents the level, and the one below, the order of arrival in prison. He reveals that the information that Argel was the first to arrive there is completely false. With that, he reveals that the veteran's true level is 51. The director is shocked, as he has never heard of a level as high as that. The Lord says he was partly right, and that Argel is undergoing a test. He reveals that this is a judgment from the constellations of darkness themselves. With this, the director becomes even more confused and asks what that means. It's a test to endure the darkness blindfolded for an exact amount of time. The veteran walks through the darkness, and now only 2 years remain until the end. He then continues his lonely journey through the dark and starry void. His goal is to become a constellation and an absolute god of the universe. That man was Argel Lastos, and his destiny was sealed a long time ago. He was in the worst prison in the entire universe to complete his journey, and he will survive in that infernal place called solitude, no matter what, a place where there are horrors that no one can even imagine. And in this vast cosmos, he will be remembered as the existence that brings chaos.